So it's almost time to harvest our garlic. Hey, exciting. So, what do we look for when we're going to harvest our garlic? Well, let's go check out some of the garlic we've got growing and show you the stuff that we look for when we're approaching harvest time. Walk this way. Now, a little bit of background. We put this in on the 14th of April and today's date is the 10th of November. We've got two different types here. We've got Rojo and Purple Stripe, I think we call it. They're going really good. We've probably got, I think, about 200 plus plants here, which is great. So what are we looking for? I'll just run through how I kind of work it in my head. First thing I do is I give them a bit of a feel, a bit of a look at. I'm noticing some nice soft green leaves, a little bit of witch's broom, which I'll explain later in this video. I'm noticing that there is some leaves dying off on the bottom, which is what we want. What's the go with the dying leaves? Well, squat down because I'm so nimble. This is a pretty good example going on here. Classic bit of garlic here. You've got your bulb, which is kind of underground, your stem and your leaves. We look for green leaves like these, about 5 or 6 that are still green. So this one's currently got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I really want another, say, 2 or 3 of these to die off before I would start looking at it. Now, as they die off, you can see here that they're kind of like, papery and stuff. Now, that's what actually enwraps the clove in that papery look when it dries out. When you pull it and you put it in your shed and you hang it up to dry it out, that's what creates that sort of papery feel around the bulb. That's good. Another thing I do is we check the shoulders of the bulb. Now, where the stalk comes down and it starts to bulb out, like the actual fruit of the plant, like the garlic of the plant. So there's a couple of good examples over this side. Here again, we're looking and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and this stuff. But if we just have a little dig down, now I'm just sort of taking a little bit of the soil away from the top of the bulb to kind of expose what it's going to look like, right? So you can see in there, we got a bit of a bulb of garlic. That's pretty awesome. Now, if this had another 3 dead leaves on it, right, I would almost consider calling the time that we pull it. But let's head down to the other variety and see how that variety looks compared to this variety here. Oh my God. So not only do we grow garlic, right, but we companion plant with eggs. I have actually seen one of our black chickens in here having a scratch around the last few days. Well, at least 8 days. So I dare say they're hers. We'll sort them out later. This is the other variety. I think this is the Rojo. Same deal, looking for however many leaves are dying. So we've got 9. Well, we'll call it 8 because this one looks like it's on its way out. So there's still 8 left. I've checked the stem. Stem's looking pretty good. Now I'll just pull this bit of dirt away. Now you can see a noticeable difference in the bulb production here. This is actually quite small compared to the other variety. So whether or not that's the difference in the variety on how they grow, or whether that one's just, a good example of garlic and this isn't a very good example. If all these leaves were to die, right, say there were, 2 green ones left and the rest were dead, but the bulb was still small, I'd be tempted to leave it a little bit longer and just monitor it week by week, essentially, for a couple of weeks and see if the bulb actually starts to bulb up, and not necessarily just rely on the fact that, it's got 6 green leaves left, it's time to pull it. So just before I mentioned to you guys about the witch's broom thing in the garlic, we'll just have a look at a few examples. Now, witch's broom is kind of described as, you've got your normal garlic leaf, right, which is like long and lush, and then out of the center you get these like little tiny like other leaves, right? And essentially, it's described as a broom because it looks like a little broom coming out of the middle. So there's quite a few examples of that down this end of the bed. Not so much in the middle, but more down this end. Causes for that can be fluctuations in temperature. Now, we have had quite a few changes in temp. Like, we've had days up to 39 recently, and we've had days like the other day was only 17. We have had quite a few temperature extremes. Now I believe that these extra growth of these little leaves can be possibly forming extra little cloves in the centre of the bulb of the garlic itself. So we've never had this before, we've just done a bit of research on it. So I reckon we pull one out and see what's going on inside it. I'm going to pull one from this end because I found, say, this example here, some fresh start coming out of it, fresh little witch's brooming coming out, and we've still got 8 green leaves and their bottom ones are drying off nicely. Things we do, we're going to sacrifice one. Oh goodness. Man, that's a pretty good bit of garlic. I'm not bad with measurements, you know, but I would say that would be 70 mil round, a bit rounder. Probably rounder than like a Coke can, for example. Let's go cut it and have a look inside. All right, so what do you think? Should we cut it this way or that way? I think we go that way, and then we'll cut the stem in half that way. Let's have a little look here. Whoa, man. Okay. So that's inside. I can't see too much signs of like extra little bulbs, cloves forming in there, but maybe a few little ones that I don't know if you'll be able to see them on the camera, but I can kind of see them around the centre there. Let's pluck a bit out. Oh, and so we've got a bit of garlic and a bit of dirt because dirt's good for you. Oh, man. That has got some zing. God, it's starting to put hair on my chest. Man. Whew. Do you want a taste? Camera lady's shaking her head. No. It's alright, she probably won't kiss me for a week. I'm just going to cut this off here. I'll give it a wash and we'll put it in the barbecue. So that's the end there. Now let's kind of cut this down the centre here and see what we're dealing with. Kind of looks like a leek, doesn't it? I think they're part of the leek family, aren't they? So you can see all these little the little leaves here I'm pulling out. This is very scientific, isn't it? So they're all like the new little ones, and they're probably being attached. You can see here, all right? That's probably where these little ones were being attached to. And I reckon that they would have started some new little cloves in there. That's how I do my scientific experiments. So, and then, now that we've kind of been looking at this, a little sidetracked, the final thing we do when it comes time to pull the garlic, we decide on a day that we're going to call it. Okay, today, for example, we're going to go, right, the garlic's ready. We'll turn the sprinklers off and we'll give it anywhere from 5 to 10 days with no water, and we'll just monitor it, say, after the 5th day, and we'll just see how they're going and see how they're drying out and the soil's drying out. So it all depends on the weather, right? If it's going to be a bit rainy, we'll leave them because we want to look for kind of like a window of no rain for, say, 2 weeks, and we're coming into summer, so that's quite achievable. And we'll just pull them out and lay them on the ground where we pull them, like leave them in the garden bed until they start drying out a bit, and then we move them and probably hang them up in the shed. Should we talk onions? We'll have a bit of quick look at the onions while we're here. So you remember our onion bed when we did the little garden makeover? Because we neglected these a lot. So this had mesh over it, just like aviary mesh, like small mesh, was to keep the chickens out because the onions were very new and little and the chickens were just like going to annihilate it. So we left the mesh on, really kind of forgot about it, and all the stalks of the onions hit the mesh and started growing up through it. And we had to fairly hack the onions back to get the mesh off. They've just gone nuts and they're like really like getting big. So if you come around here, you know, you can see some of these onions here, like, you know, that's my hand. You know, that's a pretty decent size onion there. And what happens is, there's no examples now because I've actually pulled a couple of them out. But the stalk here sort of gets weak and they'll fall over, and that's when we pull them out. So just go back to our little table over there. Now these are some examples of ones I've pulled out the other day. So basically that was in the ground and this was sort of bent over, laying on the ground. I thought, oh yep, that's the time. So they're quite, it's a decent onion, that one. And as for the seeds here, we'll just let them dry out because they're still not dry enough. And then basically we'll just shake them onto a bit of like paper or something and you get the little black onion seeds. Now we're not going to do all of them because you get so many seeds out of like one head. But let's go, we'll go check out some fruit trees and we'll go through our like netting process and the pros and cons of what we've found out about the shade cloth and netting on the fruit trees. Before we leave, let's check out the elderberry bush. Oh, so many little hoverflies. Are they hoverflies? Or little types of bees? Now, I'll be honest, I know very little, if anything, about not mulberries. I know lots about mulberries, but not elderberries. This bush started from a real little bush and it's obviously found something in the ground that it likes a lot because you can see how tall it is. You know, like yeah, it's bigger than me. And I can reach 2.4 metres off the ground. So we've got little flowers and then I think these will become little flowers and then they turn into little berries. I don't think they're the berries yet because they still need to open up as a flower. Oh yeah, yeah. And because they'll be pollinated, the little flower bits will fall off and they'll be left with a berry and then it gets handballed to Mrs. RP once there's berries and she'll make elderberry syrup. Is that what you make with it? Got any little quick hints and tips about elderberries? Please drop a comment and let us know. Alright, let's go check out the fruit net idea that we did in a few videos ago. Now, do you remember when we put the netting on the peach trees? We had 2 good peach trees, but we only netted 1. This is the one that we didn't net, and it had lots of fruit on it, and now there is zero fruit. And that's purely because of our lovely parrots that we get here. And the reason why we wanted to net several trees that were performing well to maximise the fruit. But is that good? You might need a wash, buddy. So this is our other peach tree that we obviously netted, and the fruit is unbelievable. The amount of fruit on here. Now if I pull this net open a bit, you might be able to put the camera in. So we haven't thinned out the fruit. We're not really sure on how to do that. Now, we know we just like pull some fruit off, for example, but you know, I'm sure there's a method. But there's like so many peach trees, so many peaches on here, it's insane. So, I mean, look at them, you know? So the net here, the net is actually working really, really well. In hindsight, for this particular tree, we probably should have made it a little bit larger in diameter, but next year we will make something a bit more bigger to accommodate, you know, these branches and stuff coming through. So 2 years ago, this peach tree was full of peaches. It was beautiful, and we had a big peach harvest. Last year, basically zero fruit. Combination of parrots, really. Let's go check out the apricot tree. Now, we've had this in the ground for 4 years, and we've never gotten any fruit off it, ever, not one. But this year, we netted it, and there is lots of fruit on here. So this is a 2-way apricot tree. This half of the tree comes on first. It flowers first, it gets leaves first before the other type of apricot does. Now this has got lots of fruit on it because it already was pretty well pollinated before we put the net on. As you can see, there's like, you know, lots of apricots on here. But then this other half of the tree, it had a few flowers on, but it did come on to flower more after we put the net on. So a little bit of lack of pollination, a bit early with the net. Now a good example of being too early with the net is the plum tree. Now quite a few people made comments about the netting affecting the pollination. 100%. We should have left this tree open for another, I don't know, week or 2 maybe to get some more pollination happening, because there is literally, I've tried to count, there's only about 20 plums on here. There's up here, there's a few down there. There's not many at all. So that's our fault for putting the net on too early and stopping the pollination happening. Last year, I think it was last year, this plum tree did really, really well. Like, I had a lot of plums on it. And I was actually eating plums off it, but not as fast as the birds were eating the plum. A few lessons learnt. Peach tree, bigger net. Plum tree, make sure there's pollination has occurred, like lots of flowers, bit of time, lots of bees, keep an eye on it. That's that one. Now, we'll go check out the almond tree. That's the last tree that we've netted. But before that, there's a little bit of a secret squirrel I want to tell you about. If you've made it this far, I appreciate it very much. Now, you ready for this? We're working on a paid partnership. This will be in 2025. A paid partnership with an Australian company that will essentially guide us through fruit tree development for us. Like, we don't know much about growing stuff, right? We're from the building trade, right? We know you put water on stuff, stuff grows. But what's all like the requirements, the nutrients, the nutrient requirements, the nutritious requirements, the nutrient requirements for the tree. When it comes to pruning the tree and what you got to do before winter or after winter, we don't really know that. So we're working on a collaboration that will hopefully bring benefit to us to enhance our fruit trees, but at the same time, we want to make sure when we do a collaboration with a company that it's not only beneficial to us as, like what we're trying to achieve with this homestead, but it's also beneficial to you guys. Like, do you guys want to know how to prune a tree, how to maintain a tree, what fertilizer to give it, what not to give it? I'm really keen on that. And we get offered stuff all the time. Like, we get offered so much stuff, and most of it, honestly, is a little bit pointless. Like, we got offered a robotic Wi-Fi automatic pool cleaner. Slight problem, but we don't have a pool. So that's coming, fingers crossed, in 2025. We're working on it now, so I think that'll be awesome. Almonds. Who knows about almonds? I know I have almonds on my breakfast, and hopefully I'll be able to have some of these on my oats. But what do we do with them? I don't actually know. Come in for a look. We'll come around here. So these are our almonds. Right. There's a few on here. I presume there could be a bit more. Maybe that was, maybe not enough water. Maybe too much water. I don't know. Maybe they weren't pollinated enough. But we've got almonds. And they're looking like, good size almonds. So I'll have to do a bit of research as to what to do with them. But if you've got any quick tips about how to take an almond from the tree and basically convert it into an almond that I can put on my oats in the morning, let us know, because I'd love to know what we do. So that's our garlic update, a little bit of secret squirrel update. Pretty excited about that one, I must say. Now, if you want to see how we made these little shelters for our fruit trees, check out this video just here, and we'll see you on the next one.